Hi, welcome to the Bari Nation podcast, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty. I'm April.
And I'm Jason.
And today we have the pleasure of welcoming one of our favorite experts in the world, Miss Lora Grabow. Hi, Lora.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We are too. We were just saying, you are part of the Bari Nation family now. Not only are you one of our most frequent podcast guests, we enjoy having you on all of our live events, but now you are an expert also in the Bari Nation membership community.
I know, and I'm loving it. So thank you.
I love it too. As a member of the community myself, I live for your life and maintenance support cohort that happens every Thursday night. That is the one place, that's the time and the place that I know I can go and be a member of the community and get the support that I need. And you are expertly leading us through our life and maintenance. So thank you for offering that and being an expert in the community, because it is a lifesaver for me and Jason. We need it.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. I love being able to help so many bariatric surgery patients all around the country.
I know, it's so crazy. It's just awesome to be able to connect with everybody in at one space, one time. It's glorious. So we'll talk a little bit more about the community later on in this podcast episode. But the reason that we are so thrilled to talk to you tonight is that you are a headwork expert. You've been talking about bariatric headwork for decades now. You have an entire course that you have developed outside of Bari Nation that is just dedicated to headwork. And we know that the holidays are a very heavy time of year for a lot of us. Before we actually press record, Jason was sharing a very meaningful kind of place that he's at. And really, that's what this episode today is about. So the episode is called Headwork for the Holidays. And we want to deep dive into how we kind of keep our mindsets maybe bright or just neutral so that we can experience some joy this holiday season when it maybe is feeling a little bit heavy. So before we kind of dive into the actual topic, Lora, will you just take a couple of moments to just briefly introduce yourself to our listeners and friends and followers and watchers if they've never met you before?
Yes, my name is Lora Grabow, and I'm a bariatric therapist in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been working nearly 2 decades now with bariatric surgery patients, providing the missing piece to their bariatric surgery plan, a piece I call Headwork, which we're going to dive into a little bit more. But what do I do here in Grand Rapids, Michigan? I own my own private practice where I do individual therapy. And I also, as you mentioned, I've created and launched and continue to engage with my course students, an online course in Headwork. I have done through the years the pre-op behavioral assessments, and then I love to teach and I love to lead groups. And that's what I'm doing now in the Bari Nation community.
Which you are an expert of all of those things. I have had the privilege, I haven't gone through your whole Headwork course. I've started a little tiny part of it. And just the tiny part that I got through was amazing, just amazing. So you're a very skilled leader in all of the things that you do. And we are so fortunate to call you a friend and an expert in our community. All right, let's do it. Shall we dive in, friends?
Let's do it.
All right. So you guys know, we always like to start every podcast episode by getting on the same page when it comes to kind of the language and the words that we are using. So Lora, what is headwork?
Right. So I often explain it this way. As a bariatric surgery patient, you chose bariatric surgery to answer the question, how do I lose weight? How do I manage my disease of obesity? And all of you as bariatric surgery patients have picked the best tool out there to not only get healthier, treat your disease of obesity, but to maintain your weight loss for many, many years to come. But here's the thing. The research shows you are only successful, and more than the research, I listen to my patient stories more than the research. You're only successful if you answer a different question. And that question is, why do I eat? And so it's moving from how do I get healthier? How do I treat obesity? How do I lose weight? To answering the question, why do I eat? And that's how I define headwork. It's working on, what Bari Nation calls the mindset work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. It's the work of weight loss surgery. Almost every conversation that the 3 of us or the 4 of us, or when Jason and I have a conversation, it really does come down to what we're experiencing up here. We can swap recipes, we can talk about all that kind of stuff, but the meaningful work really lies in, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I saying these things to myself? Or why do I sabotage myself? Why do I say I'm going to do one thing and then do another. Like Jason, you're always talking about like, I can talk myself out of anything, or I can talk myself into anything. And it's usually not aligned to our bariatric goals.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I'm really well versed in talking real slick to myself if I want to do something, or if I don't want to do something I'm supposed to do. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting that you say, how I talk to myself. That's a foundational headwork skill that I work with my bariatric surgery patients, whether an individual or group. That's working on your thinking, right?
Yes.
Every behavior is driven by a thought and an emotion. And if you want to change behavior, you have to be aware of your thoughts and oftentimes change your thoughts. But guess what? Nobody gave you that information in your bariatric surgery binder. And so that is why my passion is to get this information out and to start teaching people, okay, what are some of these thoughts that I'm having? Are they helpful? Do they help me reach my bariatric surgery goals or not? If they're harmful, how do we reframe them? And I call it stinking thinking. And the holidays are a high risk time for that.
Why are the holidays such a high risk time? What is going on that makes this just an amplified moment in our lives?
Mm-hmm. So like I mentioned, I've been working with bariatric surgery patients for 20 years. And what I've learned from them is holidays are hard. They're hard for a lot of reasons. One, you are faced with multiple opportunities to eat off plan. We spent a lot of work talking about how to prepare for Thanksgiving. That was one event. In December, there are several opportunities to eat off plan with holiday parties. Schedules are different. You're very, very busy. So we start to see healthy behaviors that have been working for you kind of go out the door. You're at high risk to stop food journaling. You're at high risk of changing your sleep habits. You're doing more spontaneous eating because you're on the go. And then we can't forget during the holidays, it's a high risk time to emotionally eat. We are experiencing many, many, many emotions. The number one feeling we emotionally eat for is actually joy. We all think we're drowning our sorrows in chocolate chip cookies, but they've done the research and it's happiness. We love to keep the good feeling going, and we do that with food. Americans especially do that really well, especially around the holidays. So there's a lot of emotional eating triggers. But on the other side of that is there's also some of these very uncomfortable emotions, these harder emotions like grief and loss and missing people who are no longer with us, or it's not the most wonderful time of the year. I remember I lost my mom 4 years ago. I hated that Christmas carol. I just wanted to scream when I heard it and turned it off. The holidays can be really, really hard. They can be really lonely. It's tough. And then there's also, mental triggers, I like to call them, positive memories we have of certain foods that around the holidays, or we have a thought that sounds like this, like I only get this food once a year. And so that makes it a high risk time. And then the whole, I think, January 1 thinking gets into our December thinking of like, well, I'll just start in January.
We got that exact question from a member of our community, and we're going to kind of wrap up the podcast episode really diving into that, because that is I think a huge barrier to kind of finding success in the month of December. Mm-hmm. The one thing that really surprised me just now is that you said people will eat for joy. I never in a million years equated like being happy with eating more, but oh my God, that makes total sense. And I would have never thought about that whatsoever.
No, I wouldn't either.
No. Well, and the other thing too that you were talking about is it's such a difficult time because there's a lot of loss. People experience, everybody experiences loss throughout the year, but it seems to be amplified in the holiday season. Mm-hmm. People are stressed financially because there's this feeling that I have to purchase gifts or I need to gift give, and that can add, strain to finances. And then Jason, I know before we really hit record, you were kind of telling us some of the things that you're battling with right now for the holidays. So do you feel comfortable kind of sharing where your mindset's at?
Yeah, definitely. Much like Lora was saying, she lost her mom 4 years ago. I lost my mom 7 years ago. And she was really the big Christmas person in the family. Like everything about her, she started way early and she loved it. She had Christmas villages and trees and everything, all the things that she would put out. Like this was her time to shine, so to speak. And she loved it. And I remember going, even as an adult, going and helping her put her lights up outside because she couldn't do it, or say, just doing all the things to help her get ready, actually putting her tree up for her, doing those types of things. And I look back on that and those were some of the best times, but since she's been gone, even I don't decorate for Christmas the way I used to, especially now that my kids are older. Like I've got my youngest is 19 years old and he's working and he's busy. He's always on the run. So we didn't put a tree up. We're not putting lights up outside because the neighborhood's not really, doesn't really do a lot of that either. So you just, at the end of the day, you look at it and you're just like, it's very hard to get into any kind of spirit like that because, also for those of us who live in Florida or warmer climates, it's really hard to get in the spirit when it's 80 degrees outside. It's very hard to think about putting lights up when it's hot. And so you get to that, it's just one of those things that it is really heavy at this time of year because I do think about my mom a lot more, and my mother-in-law is also gone. We lost my mother and my mother-in-law in the same year. So, it's rough to think about, like, everybody that we really surrounded, Christmas with is not here anymore. So, and with kids getting older, you can just think about it. You're just like, well, my grandkids live in Oklahoma, so we're not going to see them this year except on FaceTime. So, my daughter really goes all out for as much as she can for them. And we send them what we can send them. And then we just kind of watch them open it and go that route. But it's a lot different than being in the moment.
That's really heavy. Like, that's a lot. I had no idea that was, kicking around in your brain, but it seems like it's a loss on a lot of different levels. Like, not only are you missing the people that you love, but you're missing the past experience. You're missing the connections with the people that are still with you. You're just not feeling in the spirit. Your neighborhood isn't feeling in the spirit. It's 80 degrees out. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's really weighting down that holiday. And then I would also imagine too, like, I know if I was feeling even remotely close to what you are, I would be feeling guilty that I'm not feeling more joyous because it's supposed to be happy, right? Like, the time of year we're supposed to be having fun and I'm supposed to be merry and all of the things are great. So now I feel bad on top of feeling bad because I'm thinking that I should be feeling the other way.
Yeah, no, there is some guilt in that, as well as, my son is 19. He is busy. He's working. He's doing all that stuff. But at the same time, he would like if I put the tree, like, he's still in that mindset where he's 19, but, mentally, like, he would still like it. But I look at it and I'm just like, man, I still struggle with it because I'm looking at it like, well, he's got Xbox stuff over there in the corner where the tree's normally going to go. So, I rationalize that like I do everything else. Like, I talk myself out of doing any of that because I know, I don't, at the end of the day, I really don't want to do it. So I'm going to find reasons to talk myself out of doing it just because of all of the other things, that the sea of emotions that come with it, that I don't really want to deal with at this time of year because there's so many other things going on.
So can I jump in? Jason, you just said a powerful thing, which is why we need holiday headwork. All of the emotions I really don't want to deal with.
I was just going to say, I was going to ask you.
Okay.
I was going to ask.
And so all of the emotions I really don't want to deal with equals you are now at high risk of emotional eating, right? Because April, you did a great job of summarizing the layers of loss that Jason so bravely shared. And who wants to feel that, right? And so there's your good old comfort food to take care of you. There's your good old comfort food to numb out. And I can guarantee you it's not broccoli. It is not broccoli. It's going to be something with sugar, fat, salt, or all three combined, which, by the way, we didn't even mention that about the holidays. They're everywhere, right? So just your choices, there's all these goodies and treats that we're just inundated with that we usually don't have in other months than just in December.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the food that we consume this month traditionally is probably not as aligned to our bariatric goals as we would as we would like.
Yeah. No.
So Laura, what do you suggest? I mean, is this, you know, when we're feeling this way, when we're feeling this heavy weight of the emotions in the season, what is the best way to approach it? Do we maybe pick one of these things and tackle it? Do we just shelve all of these things and maybe try to avoid, or maybe just not deal with? Like, what's the best way through this season in a way that's going to, you know, help us become, you know, the best version of ourselves?
Definitely don't just shelve away your feelings.
I figured that was the answer, but you never know.
So, because, you know, they're still there, and, you know, it's being able to feel all the feels and being able to name them and not judge them. Right. So that was the other piece that both you and Jason brought up, is you said, and then I feel bad that I'm not in the spirit. You know, we hear a lot about the word mindfulness, and there's a reason why, right? It's because mindfulness skills work. They help us keep us all healthy. But the definition of mindfulness is being present with your thoughts and emotions without judgment. That is a lot of work, right? I do a lot of work with bariatric surgery patients, one, to first identify their thoughts and emotions. And now I got to be present with them without judging myself for having them. You know,
That's
Jason,
tough.
if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. It may change tomorrow. Don't judge yourself. You don't have to pretend it's the most wonderful time of the year. And I think you probably have people in your life that you can share that with, that you're struggling. I guess that'd be another thing. Let your support team know that it's hard. Don't fake it. Reach out for help. And you know what? Feeling your feelings are not an emergency. I promise all of you, you will be okay. You will feel your feelings and they'll move through. Feelings are visitors.
Oh, it does not feel like, I do too. It does not feel like feelings are visitors when you're going through. It feels like those feelings are like ninjas there to assassinate you. I mean,
They're the visitors that unpack and put shit in the drawers. Like, they're the ones that aren't going, like, they're the ones that stay in a hotel room, but they use all the drawers and the hangers and stuff because they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. It's Randy Quaid's character on Christmas Vacation when he says, like, don't get too comfortable to that RV for when we leave here next month. What?
Right.
Yes.
And you know what? They don't feel like visitors because, again, I've learned the most from my bariatric patients, and my bariatric patients, and I bet this includes you, April, and Jason as well, is they haven't had a lot of skill in learning how to name and feel their feelings. So they feel incredibly hard in the beginning. And that's where I build a lot of trust with my patients, where I can say, feeling your feelings is not an emergency. It's like a wave that we see in the ocean or on a lake. Like, it will peak and then it will always come back down. And you will be okay. Will it be more uncomfortable than numbing them out with food? Yeah. But back to that head work, I want to teach all bariatric surgery patients, not just during the holiday season, how do I cope through my feelings versus numb them? Because they're there anyways. And then you got two feelings if you eat them, because now you have what you were trying to escape and now you're mad at yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, like, I know a lot of how I've made it through after the loss of my mom was the fact that I know I spent a lot of time with my mom before she passed, and we talked a lot about, you know, just kind of, I was able to process a lot of things with her before she was gone. And I know she would never want me to live in a space where I was not okay. Like, she wants me to push through. Like, I know I can miss her. It's okay to miss her, but I'm not allowed to kind of ruin the rest of my life because she's no longer here to help me through it. Okay. So I know one of the last things she said to me before she passed was, she took my hand, looked me in my eyes. She couldn't really speak, but she said, "It's okay." And I took that, and I see that all the time in my head when I'm struggling, because I know she was telling me it's going to be like that. I take that forward because I know that's what she meant, because my mother and I were extremely close. So I, you know, my brother doesn't deal with it as well as I do. And I tell him all the time how I deal with it, and he just can't grasp it. And, it's just one of those things that I'm grateful for, because I know if I didn't take it that way, things would be a lot harder on me than they have been. But this time of year, still, it's just still rough, because, to me, she was Christmas always. That's what I grew up with. So without that being there, it's just hard for me to ever, grab a hold of the spirit and do it now, especially with the kids being older. So.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jason. I mean, that took a lot of courage to be vulnerable with all the listeners and with April and myself this evening. But what you just described is holiday headwork, right? It's both and. It's grieving, feeling the feelings, but continuing to push through and doing what's best for you and what your mom would want for you to live your best life.
It amazes me, the strength that it takes, not only just to get through life, and then you add this layer, this bariatric layer on top of it, right? It's just, we were kind of talking about this earlier, right? Life continues to happen, and then you add the holidays, and then you add our bariatric journey. That is a real dense cake, if you will, to work through in a really kind of short amount of time. So Lora, what are some things that like Jason can do, and that our friends and our followers and our listeners can do if they're maybe working through the same emotion and feeling that Jason is this season?
So yes, we're all grieving, right? And grieving in different things, layers of loss, and loss just isn't death. There's a lot of family conflict going on right now in today's world, and division in families that we didn't expect. There's losses from COVID. All of our bariatric patients are experiencing grief and loss emotions around their relationship with food, which really comes out. And I think it's being able that we're talking about it, we're naming it, giving yourself permission to feel it, have those tears, have those memories. I lost my mom very, very close to Christmas, right after Thanksgiving 4 years ago. So I just have gone through that anniversary. And, one of the things I did this year, and I hadn't done it before, and it was very helpful with my grief, is I wrote her a letter. I wrote her a letter in my journal. And, on that day, and I just wanted to, I'll be honest, I have some stinking thinking like, oh, I don't want to go there. I don't want to cry. I don't want to do this. But then we're not being real. And so I took some quiet time and I just wrote her a letter. What would I want to tell her? And it was so therapeutic and a healthy way to grieve and to move through that emotion. And then I felt peace. So, that's something you could do.
Well, it's interesting when you said I had to do something that was real. Yeah, so often we look to move through our emotions in just the quickest way possible, or we just want to get from A to B, but we're maybe doing something that's not authentic to our grief and to our emotion. So how Jason might move through it is going to be very different than what somebody else is going to do to move through it, but it doesn't matter. It's the fact that we are doing something that is real for us and that is real.
Yeah.
Wow. So Jason, what are some things that you're going to do this holiday season? Or is there something new, or are you going to continue to maybe rely on something that is real for you?
I'm actually going to, much like Lora said, I'm going to sit with a lot of it because I don't really block it out so much. I let it come when it comes, but I always go back to the main, my mainstay is always the fact that I will be okay. She wants me to be okay. I will be okay. I've been through it. It may not be, the most fun I've had, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I do know that I will be okay. And I process through that the same way every time. And it always works. So I just keep that in my back pocket for when I'm feeling it. And, there's still times that I break down. There's times I think about it when I think about the girls, the grandbabies, and how she would just have adored them and what their Christmas would look like from her, because it would be just bananas. That really hurts. That's the hard part, because she never got to see either one of them. And, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I really think about and that really hurts the most. But at the same time, at the end of the day, just like everything else, I can't change it. And it's, you know, it's one of the ultimate losses, but I will be okay. And I just process through it. And like Laura said, there's, you know, no amount of eating is going to make it better. So I'm just going to feel sick at the end of the day. And it's not going to align with my goals, that I'm going to shame myself when I step on the scale. And it's just, you know, I'm having to learn my triggers that would bring me back to food and realize that, yeah, it sucks, but I'm going to have to go do something else. I have to, and there are times I have to remove myself from the house where the food is because I can't. And I've had times where I've left the house and left my wallet at home because I know if I'm out, I'm going to stop and get something. So I'll take my license, put it in my pocket, and I go do whatever I got to do. But I've removed myself from any access to food because there are times I cannot be trusted to have access.
Yeah. And I think it's important to mention, you know, with talking about grief in the holidays, like we have been, some of our listeners and viewers may be triggered right now, and they may be experiencing their own grief, and they're like, man, why are you bringing this up? Because we deal with the real stuff. And I just want to encourage all of you who may be experiencing some of your own grief of people that you've lost, to be kind to yourself today or whenever you're, you know, listening to this. It's okay to grieve, and it's okay to have joy right next to it as well, right? And that's what I've learned too with my bariatric patients is we work hard on beginning to feel feelings, and then they're like, wait a minute, I have to learn how to feel two at the same time. And I'm like, yeah, because they don't cancel each other out, right? We can have really deep sadness or grief on one end, and then also great joy and, you know, seeing the grandkids or seeing our kids or being able to be back at a live Christmas concert that's happening that we missed last year. And then, you know, it's not either or, it's both and then don't judge yourself. Don't feel guilty for either.
Feeling these emotions and going through these feelings is the human experience. Right. And I think it's hard for us because for so long we denied that. So when they do come, it feels like, oh my God, something's wrong, but it's not. What's different is that we're allowing ourselves to move through and live through these emotions. Whereas before bariatric surgery, we didn't allow it, and we use food to cope. And we're making a decision this holiday season to try something different, right? There's nothing wrong with trying it one time and just seeing what the experience is like. We can give ourselves a permission to kind of be our own scientists, to run a little experiment and see what happens on the other side of this way of dealing with emotions.
Right. And there's a lot of emotions in the month of December, not just grief.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, no. Well, and I know that one of the things, you know, that I do, like I talk about the grandbabies and them not getting to know my mom or, you know, my mother-in-law, is we talk about it. We show them pictures. We break them out. We show them everything. So they know who Nana is. They know who grandmother is. Like, they know all that stuff. So they talk about it, and they can tell you who they are. And that's just one of those things. Like, they may not have gotten to experience it in the moment, but now they know. And that's, you know, that's all we can do.
So there's a healthy non-food way to honor grief.
Absolutely. And keeping your support system close while you're experimenting is something that is absolutely needed, because since it is an experiment, you don't necessarily know how you're going to cope with that. And having your support system on standby definitely is important in those experiments, because, you know, you want to make sure that someone's there to catch you if you happen to fall.
Jason, I'm so glad you used the word support system, because I want to bring us back to the beginning of the podcast when April asked me about what is Headwork. I've done a lot of work through the years. People have actually asked me, like, well, pick your top Headwork skills. What do bariatric patients really need to know? And I've kind of narrowed it down to some foundational Headwork skills or foundational Headwork topics. And I think we need to be working on all of these our holiday season. The first Headwork skill I talk about is being aware of our thinking and how it's impacting our behavior. I call it stinking thinking. There's a lot of holiday stinking thinking going on, like just one won't hurt. I only get it once a year. I'll start January 1. I dealt with one today in a session. It's not fair that other people can eat and I can't. I want to be like everyone else. So being able to work on a headwork skill of being aware of our thoughts and reframing them if need be. The other headwork skill kind of falls under emotional eating. And we've already addressed that, right? Being able to name our feelings and honor them in healthy non-food ways, and learning how to exit emotional eating roller coasters, which are at an all-time high during December. A third headwork skill that we often forget about and is very foreign to bariatric surgery patients is this idea of self-care and setting healthy boundaries. And that is huge. And what I see happen, especially to my bariatric surgery patients in December, is they put themselves on the back burner. And as a bariatric surgery patient, you cannot put yourself on the back burner. And they flip back into everything to everyone mode, and that is not going to work. So if there's ever a time to work on the headwork skill of setting healthy boundaries, self-care, it's the month of December. And I already know you're stinking thinking, I don't want to be selfish. I will tell you this, when you practice healthy self-care, it improves your capacity to care for others. And my final headwork skill I teach is support team. We not only have to build our support team, we have to use it. You decide who's on and you decide who's off the team. You are the captain. What I've learned from my bariatric surgery patients is they can all say they have a support team, but then I say, are you using them? Are you reaching out? Are you communicating your needs? Nope. Support teams only work if you use them. And we need to let our people know, how are we doing in December? And that's what I love about Berry Nation, because it brings the community together.
And you're not bothering your support team by asking them for help, by reaching out, because that's what they're in place for. If it's people you know that you can, that you have on your side, you are never bothering them to step out. I know you can contact me directly, you can contact April directly, you can contact Natalie directly, and you are never bothering us. If you don't have anybody else on your team that you can talk to, you can reach out to one of us three any point in time. We always monitor the Berry Nation box. It's always us three, or you can reach out to us individually and we will still, whatever you need, we will be there to help you, because that's what we're here for.
Yep. Well, and if you are a member of the Berry Nation community, you have access to that support network 24/7. Everybody is there for the exact same reason. And that is because people wanted and needed a support network. And that is what that community is. That is literally why it exists. And I know how hard it is to reach out. I experienced this a couple of weeks ago. I was right on that cusp of, nope, I don't need any support. That's the only thing that I actually needed. And what got me through that difficult moment was the support of my friends and my community and Berry Nation. That was what it was. So if you are struggling, one of the keys is to reach out, is to just tell somebody I'm struggling.
But that is such conversation. That is such new behavior for our bariatric surgery system. They're used to being everything to everyone. They say yes to everything, but when it comes to receiving help and support, they say no. So our patients don't have boundaries where they need them, and then they put up a boundary where they don't need it.
Yep, I'm the world's worst at that. My wife will tell you that.
Oh, yep.
That might be another podcast.
I think we do this every single time. Every single time we always discover something else to talk about. Well, let's we only have a few minutes left, but let's take a moment and let people know what resources are available for you this holiday season if you are needing some support in this headwork. Lora, you're actually teaching a headwork for the holidays class in Berry Nation in the membership community.
2 times.
I know. Oh my God. So excited. If you would like to deep dive into this topic, definitely consider becoming a member of Berry Nation. You can try it for 14 days without making any financial commitments. And you could definitely take one of Laura's classes to see if that's something that is needed and necessary. And if you're not a member of the community, we are hosting our virtual bariatric meetup again, where 2 experts will be joining us to deep dive again into this mindset and this kind of mindset work that we need to be doing for the holidays. And you can register for that free event on our website. And Lora, you have a headwork course and like an email support that you offer, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those key topic areas I meant about change and stinking thinking, emotional eating, can our yes be sabotaging our weight loss and support team? Those are the principles that I walk people through in my online course, Foundations in Headwork for Healthy Weight Loss. And you can learn more about that by signing up for my email list. And also, and you do all that at loragrabow.com. Another aspect of my online course is you have community. You have a private Facebook group, and you go at your own pace. And again, you can learn more about that. And I'd also welcome people to follow me on social media. Actually, the theme I will be promoting in December is self-care and giving the best holiday gift to your loved ones, which is a healthy you. So join me there on Facebook, and IG handle is @Lora Grabow. And also just reach out to me anytime. DM me, Facebook message me, email me. I respond to all of them.
Lora, you are a gem in our community. We are so thankful that you are such an active participant, because we know your heart is here to serve people. And we just we thank you for your time tonight on this podcast episode. We could have probably talked for 5 hours on this subject, but I think it was a wonderful primer for people who are thinking about maybe doing some of this mindset work. And Jason, I love you as a friend, and I'm just so thankful that you are so willing to share your very personal moments with the world, because that can be really hard to do. So thank you, friend.
Yeah, I know I'm not alone, so I know other people need to hear it. So
that's why you also are a gem in our community.
I try my best.
Oh, well, just to wrap up, you guys, I'll let you know, we have a shout out Sunday feature. Every Sunday, we feature a member of our greater community. So if you would like to celebrate a success or a win, or you just want to a platform to share your story, do a shout out Sunday submission. Just head to our website. It's a quick Google form. You answer some questions, you send us a picture, and we schedule it on our Instagram feed. So definitely do that if you would like a little boost this holiday season. And of course, if you are looking for that little extra layer of support, consider becoming a member of the Berry Nation community. Experts like Lora are there on demand, live, virtual, synchronous. We have support groups, support cohort, live events, peer-to-peer support events. It's literally jam-packed. Every single day you have an opportunity to connect with someone live. So definitely check that out. Just head to our website, barrynation.com. Jason, my friend, you want to take us out?
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody we appreciate the likes, the shares, the subscribes that you guys have given us so far. Do not forget, you can also rate us on your favorite podcast player, as well as leaving us ratings and reviews on our YouTube channel. And you can also leave us voice messages on Anchor, which we can incorporate into future podcast episodes. And we love hearing those as well, because it's just another way for us to feature our amazing community. So thank you so much for that. And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, Lora. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.